Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी माधव जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 7th chapter, verse number 16. Just give me a minute. साध्वेतद्व्याहृतं विद्वन् नात्ममायायनं हरेः आभात्यपार्थं निर्मूलम् विश्वमूलं न यद्बहिः साध्वेतद्व्याहृतं विद्वन् आत्ममायायनं हरेः आभात्यपार्थं निर्मूलम् विश्वमूलं न यद्बहिः साध्वेतद्व्याहृतं विद्वन् नात्ममायायनं हरेः आभात्यपार्थं निर्मूलम् विश्वमूलं न यद्बहिः साध्वेतद्व्याहृतं विद्वन् आत्ममायायनं हरेः आभात्यपार्थं निर्मूलम् विश्वमूलं न यद्बहिः। साध्वेतद्व्याहृतं विद्वन् नात्ममायायनं हरेः आभात्यपार्थं निर्मूलम् विश्वमूलं न यद्बहिः। Mothers, anybody? Mataji. साध्वेतद्व्याहृतं विद्वन् नात्ममायायनं हरेः आभात्यपार्थं निर्मूलम् विश्वमूलं न यद्बहिः। Sadhu, as good as it should be. Etad, all these explanations. Vyahrutam, thus spoken, Vidwan, O learned one, Na, not, Atma, the self, Maya, energy, Ayanam, movement, Harehe, of the personality of Godhead, Abhati, appears, Apartham, without meaning, Nirmoolam, without basis, Vishwamoolam, the origin is the supreme, Na, not, Yat, which, Bahihi, outside. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O learned sage, your explanations are very good, as they should be. Disturbances to conditional soul have no other basis than the movement of external energy of the Lord. Purport. A living entity's unlawful desire to become one with the Lord in every respect is the root cause of the entire material manifestation. For otherwise, the Lord has no need to create such a manifestation, even for His pastimes. The conditioned soul, under the spell of the external energy of the Lord, falsely suffers many unfortunate incidents in material life. The Lord is predominator of the external energy Maya, whereas the living entity is predominated by the same Maya under the material condition. The false attempt of the living entity to occupy the predominating post of the Lord is the cause of his material bondage. And the conditioned soul's attempt to become one with the Lord is the last snare of Maya. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I like to offer my humble obeisances at the feet of all of you who are assembled, all my respected God brothers and others who are listening this online. Hare Krishna. When I read this shloka and the purport for the first time, I realized that this is a very technical verse. So, of course, grace of Srila Prabhupada, everything that he writes, in his purport, he has simplified it for all of us extremely well. Very highly simplified purport. If you actually look at the word-to-word translation, you will not find certain words which Prabhupada has actually used in the main translation. Like Prabhupada says that disturbances to the conditioned soul have no other basis. Now in this entire verse, you will not find the words connected to disturbance to the individual soul. You will not find that anywhere. Then there are certain other things which are spoken in the verse which Prabhupada is not really referring to in his purport. Like there are words such as apartham, nirmulam, and again Prabhupada has not put any of those in his translation. So this verse is such that, so whenever you see such things, like, okay, another thing, if you read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, the first line Prabhupada is saying, a living entity's unlawful desire to become one with the Lord in every respect is the root cause of entire material manifestation. So, unlawful desire to become one with the Lord in all respects. So, this is about Mayavad philosophy. Again, Prabhupada is ending the purport with the same line. He is saying that the false attempt of the living entity to occupy the predominating post of the Lord is the cause of this material bondage, and the conditioned soul's attempt to become one with the Lord is the last snare of Maya. So again, when I looked at the purport, I did not realize, Mayavad, where is this shloka talking about impersonalism? Where is the translation? So I was completely confused. So basically, when I read this entire verse, I said, okay, we need help of some other probably purports or. So luckily, we have nice collection of series of verses by our Balram Shakti Prabhu. He speaks on purports given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And when you actually study the translation given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and the word-to-word meaning, you realize that, oh my God, that translation which he has done is much more difficult to understand than what Prabhupada is given here. And it's very deep. But because I had this doubt in my mind that how are all these things connected, I was forced to study that particular purport and listen to those. And believe me, I actually listened to that particular section at least 4 to 5 times, even to properly understand. So as I'm speaking, I may gasp for words or concepts because I actually barely understood this. I have probably not understood it. But yes, there is a beautiful connection. What I understood definitely is that Prabhupada has so simplified this purport for us. I mean, there is no need to break your head. Just follow this purport and it solves all the problem. But in case you have that, as we call kida, Bauddhik Vaicharik kida, then you may want to go deep and understand what Prabhupada is, how are all these things connected? Where is this impersonalism coming about? What is about this apartham, nirmulam not being spoken in this word? And then where is this bondage of living entity and all that covered in this verse? I don't see those words here. So the way Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes on explaining this is like this. Of course, this shloka is spoken by Vidura to Maitreya Muni. So Vidura had some serious questions. 2 of the serious questions which he had. One was that if Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually creating the entire material manifestation, the act of creation is definitely under the mode of passion. And we also understand that he maintains the material nature, so again that is under the mode of ignorance. So if the Supreme Personality of Godhead is personally involved in creation, maintenance, etc., how can you say that he is beyond the 3 modes of material nature? This is a simple question that he had. Another question that he had is this living entity is by default supposed to be, always all-knower, right? Like the living entity by nature is a knower. It knows so many things. Plus, on top of that, there has never been a time in the history of living entity that it was ever separated from Paramatma, who is the absolute all-knower of everything. Then how did it ever happen that the living entity came under the influence of material nature and forgot? So these are the 2 simple questions that he had. And if you see the previous verses to this, literally all the analogies and examples that we hear when we come to Krishna consciousness about how living entity is simultaneously one and different from the Lord, the material energy is one and different, all the different analysis and examples are there in the previous verses. After hearing all those examples, now Vidura is very satisfied. He's actually very happy, and that's how he begins. So he says, Sadhu etat. My dear Maitreya Muni, what you have spoken is sadhu. Brilliant. Vyahrutam means explanations, narrations that you have given. It is beautiful. I'm completely convinced. All my doubts are now completely clear. So what have I understood? I have understood two things. What I have understood? That now for those two things, only a single word is used here in this purport, in this shloka. And that word is Atma Maya Ayanam. Atma Maya Ayanam. What does it mean? We can understand from the Sandhi itself. The word Ayana actually has two meanings in Sanskrit. Like you may say that there is Uttarayana going on. So Uttarayan means the sun has now come to the southmost point. It has he has started his movement towards north. So Uttara Ayanam. So his movement towards north. So Ayan means movement. Also you must have very commonly heard the word called Yan. Yan means, like Mangalyaan, Chandrayaan, Pushpak Yan, whatever, right? So Yan is, so this is coming from the same verb. Ayanam, Yanam. One is as they call as a concrete noun. One is an abstract noun. Like movement is an abstract noun. A yan or like a plane is a concrete noun. The same word, right? So Ayanam refers to movement. But the Ayanam word has another meaning also. That meaning is shelter. Like Narayana. So a person in whom all the Naras take shelter. Like somebody say Hari Bhakti Parayana. One who has taken the shelter of Hari Bhakti. So the word Ayan also refers to taking shelter. So Atma Maya Ayanam now gives two meanings. One is the movement of Atma Maya. Second is one who has taken shelter of Atma Maya. And that Atma Maya is now, whose Atma Maya it is? Harehe. So that is Lord Supreme. The Hare word is there. So Atma Maya of Lord Hari, right? What has happened? One is the movement of that Maya. Second is people who have taken shelter of that Maya. Which means the movement of material energy, as Prabhupada rightly coins it in this translation. And second is bondage of living entity. Right? When a living entity takes shelter of Maya Devi, that is the bondage. What is that verse? Kota nidra jao maya pisha chiro kole. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, wake up sleeping souls, you are sleeping in the lap of Maya Devi. You are taken shelter. When a child goes and sleeps in the lap, he is taking shelter. So in that way, so two things are there. What is movement of material energy and bondage of living entity. And about these two things, what have I understood as Vidura from Maitreya Muni? I have understood that both these things are apartham and nirmulam. That means both these things are causeless. There is no cause or purpose. कोई कारण नहीं है कि ऐसी चीज़ें क्यों हो रही है दुनिया में. There is no cause. और लिविंग एंटिटी यानी जीवात्मा को हानि हो रही है, उसको तकलीफ हो रही है, कोई कारण नहीं है. There is no cause. Now that is completely difficult to understand. How do you... Actually in this purport itself 2-3 times Prabhupada has said that this so and so thing is the cause of living entity's suffering. So and so thing is the cause of living entity's bondage. It's there in the purport. But here the words used are nirmulam, apartham. So therefore, to understand this, there is a context which is required. And the whole purpose of, discussing this verse is to understand that context. Because that context is so beautiful. When I heard that context, actually it gave me so much of nourishment and so much of confidence. I said, wow, this is so nice. It is so nice to understand. So in what context do you understand that the movement of material energy has no cause? Yeah? And it has no purpose. And the bondage of living entity also has no cause and no purpose. So it has to be understood in some context. So that context is explained very nicely, and if I would recommend that you go and listen to those lectures originally, but it's very nicely explained. So analogy is given. It says, first, let's talk about the bondage of a jiva. Like we all know that we are under material bondage, therefore we are suffering. There's no question about it. The question is, whom do you blame for it? Who is to be blamed? What is the answer? If I am suffering, who is to be blamed? Any answers? But who did the past karma? Then I am supposed to be blamed? For my karma, I am only supposed to be blamed. That means I am the cause. I am the cause of my bondage. But here it says that there is no cause of bondage. So how do we understand? So that context is we have to understand. So what is mentioned is that the living entity is designed by Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a way that it can come under the control of material energy. You know that living entity is a Tatastha Shakti, it's a marginal potency. It can come under the control of Maya Devi, or it can also come under the control of Krishna's Yoga Maya, based on that living entity's choice. But by design, it will always come under control. So coming under control is not the facility of the living entity. It's already made like that. It's designed to be come under control. So if I have come under material energy, then what is my fault? You made me like that. It's not my fault, because I am made like that. For example, slightly funny example, but just some entertainment. Few years back, there was this war between India and Pakistan. All of you must have seen it. Many things happened. Our neighboring country fired one particular missile. That missile did not explode only. It landed as it is. Like you have Bhagavad Gita as it is, it was missile as it is. It did not explode. So then people are thinking, okay, why is not exploding? Why the missile? And then there was, so the firing country said that, Arey, your products are so bad. We purchased it from your country and your product is so bad, it's not exploding. The other country is manufacturing, they are saying that, no, you are to be blamed because you are not firing it properly. You have not understood the art of firing a missile. Then after some time, there was some article which came, and the article said that the manufacturing firm, which probably manufactured some of these missiles, they deliberately put, instead of explosives, they put some sand and clay into certain missiles to save cost. And I'm just talking about what articles I read. I don't know the facts. But just imagine, if somebody has put sand and clay in a missile, then it is designed not to explode. Na? Whom to blame? Whom will you blame? You're buying something from somebody whom you cannot trust, and it does not work. Whom to blame? It is designed not to work. So living entity is designed to come under control. Whom will you blame? Right? In that sense, it is causeless. Right? Because you cannot blame that person. Therefore, but then how do you understand afterwards? So then everyone will say, I am supposed to be under control. So, no. So the question is asked that is living entity designed to be vulnerable? Vulnerable means coming under control. And, Balram Shakti Prabhu very wonderfully said in that class, he said that a living entity is not supposed to be vulnerable, it is supposed to be versatile. You understand what is versatile? What do you mean by versatile? Versatile means a living entity can occupy a body right from an insect all the way up to a demigod. Beyond that demigod, they can occupy transcendental bodies. The living entity, even in material body, can experience transcendental pleasure. And not only a living entity can experience transcendental pleasure, a living entity can surpass the transcendental pleasure experienced by Lord also. This is called versatile. Matlab, this is how Krishna has created us. Just imagine. And now if you are not using that particular opportunity, means Krishna has created you so that you can experience more pleasure than Krishna. Right? He is Anandam Ambudhi Vardhanam. He is like he is the ocean of bliss. Right? The great souls, what is that shloka? Ramante yogino nante satyanande chidatmani. Like the great yogis derive unlimited pleasure. Right? Krishna is a storehouse of all the pleasure. No. As an Atma, you have been made a bigger storehouse of all the pleasure. That's what Lord Krishna has done. This is versatility. And if a living entity is not using this opportunity, then that is simply a misfortune. Therefore, in the morning, when you do people who do deity worship, there is a particular statement that everyone reads. It is called as Bhuta Shuddhi. That is purification. And in that it says like this, that I am actually an infinitesimal spiritual being, completely apart from the gross and subtle body. Then it says, but because of some unimaginable bad fortune, because I've been so unfortunate that I have obtained this, suffering. And now because of some good fortune, I have obtained the service of the lotus feet under the guidance of my spiritual master. So it is very important. It's just pure unfortunate. Like if you read the translation given by Srila Prabhupada of the second verse of Shikshashtakam, not second verse, I think what is that? Patitam mam vishame bhavam budhau krupaya tava padapang. If you read the translation, Prabhupada says, because of some misfortune it has happened. You cannot explain the cause. It is simply, so the fact that our bondage, the cause is our misfortune. That's it. It's our unfortunate that we are not realizing this fact. If you are not so convinced about this, then there is one more understanding which is given. So we understood about the cause. Now the movement of material energy also has been considered here as apartham and nirmulam. That means material energy's movements are also without any cause and this purpose. Now all of us, when we came to Krishna consciousness, we understood the fact that this material energy is like a jail. And even Prabhupada writes here, unlawful desire, etc. He has made this statement very clearly. So the purpose of material energy is to create a jail for us and make us suffer, right? That is the objective. And the cause obviously is your own desire to enjoy the material nature. So that is again there. But again, here it is mentioned that it doesn't have any cause and doesn't have any basis. So what is the context? The context is explained using a particular analogy. It's a very nice analogy. I personally like the analogy a lot. So it is mentioned that when you learn swimming, so there's a difference between different teachers, the way they teach you swimming, right? Especially if you go to the village side, then there are some nice teachers also. And they are not even teachers. They are just some boys or elder people who have learned swimming. And when you go to them and say, Chacha, mere ko swimming sikhao, they chal beta, tumko sikhata hu. And that person takes you to the river, picks you and throw in the water. Nothing applied to you, no dabas, nothing, throw in the water. And the person is there struggling. And next day you go, the person says, what did you do last time? You almost killed me. Again they throw in the water. So if you look at now a person who is a third person, who is looking at this entire scenario, they will feel that this is the material energy troubling this living entity, torturing this living entity, right? Is the person torturing the living entity? When that is happening, when you are being thrown in the water, you are also being observed that you don't drown. Everyone is very carefully watching that you don't drown. Right? That's what Paramatma is doing in the heart. He's actually watching that this person does not drown. And Paramatma provides every possible opportunity for you to learn some trick of swimming better somewhere, right? But you will be kept thrown in the water again and again and again until you learn the art of swimming very nicely. When you learn the art of swimming very well, then those people are also very happy. They say, wow, very nice. Now you are past. Now no more throwing in the, no, you yourself will jump in the water. Like Tukaram Maharaj says in one this, he says, Na lage mukti ani sampada, santa sanga dei sada, tuka mane garbhavasi sukhe ghalave amasi. I am happily willing to jump into the water now. Because I have learned the art of swimming. I cannot drown. Right? You are just so you can just swim so nicely yourself. So in this activity, if material energy is supposed to punish you, then is that really a punishment? It is not a punishment. It is an act created so that you learn swimming very nicely. Because if you see, just like when we come to Krishna consciousness, we are chanting, and often in many purports also, Prabhupada says that it's a battle with material energy. Right? So devotee who comes to Krishna consciousness is battling with material energy. And one who is an outsider is also battling with material energy. Because that's what they are doing, right? They are trying to conquer material energy. So then what is the difference? What is the difference? This person is understanding that my battle is not really a battle. It's an act so that I learn better. I am not in conflict with material energy. It's not that when I am walking on the road, I see the deity of Durga Devi. I say, ha! Kya Durga Devi? Maya Devi. I don't want to look at it. No, we don't do like that. I remember once I was walking with this one brahmachari on this road, and there is this one temple here close by of Devi. And that devotee very humbly bowed down to her and said, Maya Devi, don't trap me, please. He said like that. And he walked ahead. And I was very happy that this is the way we look at Maya Devi. So it's not that, because the devotee understands that this is actually my test. This is all being done so that I swim very nicely. This of Maya Devi that is coming in my life is so that I swim very nicely. And I learn the art of swimming. I am not in loggerheads with Maya Devi in terms of fighting. No. The goal is the same. The goal is the same. Right? The goal is same, and the goal is to go to the other side. Comfortably swim across. So if you consider Maya Devi's role as punishment, if you consider Maya Devi's role as torturing a living entity, then that is not true. In that sense, the movement of Maya Devi has no cause. And it has no purpose. Because the purpose is a transcendental purpose that everyone is elevated. And now we come to the last. He says, this bondage of living entity and the movement of material nature, although appears to be not having any purpose and not having any cause, but that itself is the cause of material nature. Right? Vishwamulam na yad bahi. There is no other cause beyond this. This is the cause. What is the cause? This movement of material energy and the bondage of living entity is the cause of it. How do we understand this point? This is not that difficult to understand because all of you who have studied Bhagavad Gita, we know this. There is a beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Ishwaras sarva bhutanam ruddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. So here that yantra rudhani maya, the words such as ayanam, the yan, the yantra, and the movement, all those words are again coming in the same verse. So here Lord Krishna is clearly saying that I am situated in everyone's heart, right? And all of you, you are wandering, the living entities are wandering, sitting on a machine of material energy. it actually means that living entity on his or her own has no ability to move or do anything like that. Right? You may be sitting and you may be winking eyes as you're looking at me. But even this moment is not in your hands. It is controlled by certain demigods. And if the demigod decides to have a good time with you, you will not be able to blink eyes. You can imagine how miserable it will be if you're just not able to blink eyes. Sometimes, people have sore hands. And I don't know why it happens. Whenever you have sore hands, you always get an itch on the back. And you cannot scratch it because the hand is... So you have a choice whether I should tolerate the pain of the hand or the itch in the back. Right? So you may have a desire to scratch. But if material energy doesn't permit, you cannot even scratch your own back. Right? So everything is... So basically what happens is that a living entity expresses a desire. Paramatma hears that desire in the heart. If the karma of the living entity allows, then Paramatma tells the material energy, okay, now go and manifest all these things, so you can enjoy or suffer the consequences of your own action. But on your own, only thing that you're basically doing is desire. That's all. That is your own proprietary property. Nobody has claim over your desire. That is your own. The choices that you are making is your own. Right? So the same Paramatma in the heart is waiting for one to come to Krishna. The moment he says, oh, you are now interested in spiritual life, okay, I'll provide you unlimited facility to increase your spiritual life. So it is like that. But as long as you don't have that desire, Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantarudani maya, that itself become the cause of the bondage. Right? So in this way, we actually understand the verse. Of course, Srila Prabhupada makes certain beautiful points in this purport. And Prabhupada also speaks about the other thing which I was talking about, which I could not make out. So what is Prabhupada saying? Prabhupada directly starts the purport with explaining the Mayavad philosophy. He ends the purport with Mayavad philosophy. So I had this another doubt in my mind that how all this thing is fitting in the Mayavad philosophy. So what is mentioned here, in short, on one perspective, the material energy and the bondage of living entity appears to be having without any cause. Right? And the word here uses abhati, it appears to be. Right? But actually it is not. Na atmamaya. The word na is also there. Right? That word is already mentioned. So in one context, it appears to be like this, but actually beyond all this, there is a plan of the Supreme Lord. Right? But there are a section of people who say that actually Maya is useless. It doesn't have any cause. It just is a waste of time. It is mithya. And those people are addressed as Mayavadis. Those who say that the supreme truth, the Lord is supreme truth, but Maya is just mithya. The suffering that you are undergoing is also mithya. The material energy which is causing the suffering is also mithya. The fact that you are thinking that I am suffering or so-and-so person is suffering, that is also mithya. There is only one truth. And that truth is that actually all of us are Supreme Lord only. That is a big problem. Actually, this concept that all of us are Supreme Lord is the biggest mithya, to be very honest. But they don't accept it. Right? But they will say, and therefore Prabhupada is straight away coming to the Mayavad philosophy here and saying that the biggest problem is the desire of living entity to be equal to the Supreme God in all respect. So that is the biggest problem. The moment you understand this one fact, that I am not supposed to predominate over material nature. I am supposed to learn swimming, that's it. The moment I learn swimming, there is nothing more required. That's all is expected. Like Prabhupada said in ISKCON, I think it was written in the Brahmacharya ashram also many, many years back on a board, that every person who joins this ashram needs to know three things: cooking, swimming, and driving. That's what Krishna wants us to know. Cooking, swimming, and driving. That's it. Like today I was listening to a class in the DT room. And Prabhupada said that we can make Vaikuntha if everyone follows only three things: First thing Prabhupada says, one has to only eat Krishna Prasad. So the tongue has to do two things. The first thing, it has to eat Krishna Prasad. Anything else comes, you just say, no, I don't want. And what you want to speak, I want to speak Krishna Katha. Of course, those of us who are working part of Vyavhar, we have to speak other things also. But that is as a responsibility, you do it. Right? But as a choice, as what I like, is Krishna Katha. So, tongue, Krishna Prasad, Krishna Katha. And second thing Prabhupada said, so two things he said. He said Krishna Katha, Krishna Prasad, and yeah, he said, give up speculation and become humble. You just do three things. Have Krishna Katha, Krishna Prasad, and then Prabhupada quotes that shloka. What is that? Sthane sthita shruti katam tanuvan manobhir. That verse. He said, and just give up speculation. And hear Krishna Katha. Again, same thing. Just give up speculation, associate with saintly people, chant Hare Krishna, and eat Krishna Prasad. And Prabhupada says this, every citizen of the world follows this, then very soon this world will become Vaikuntha. And to be very honest, the purpose of our International Krishna Consciousness Movement is to propagate this message to as many people as possible. The different techniques that you use, different seminars, are ultimately bring people to these three things. Eating Krishna Katha, eating Krishna Prasad, speaking Krishna Katha, and giving up speculation and hearing from a saintly person. Yeah? And the whole world can actually become Vaikuntha. Basically, it means that everyone learns to swim very nicely. And when you learn to swim very nicely, then your job is done. You're pure, you're complete. So that's pretty much about this entire purport. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If anybody has any questions, we can take. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Haripur. मतलब ऐसे ही इमेजिनरी कि भगवान ऐसे करते होंगे, माया ऐसे